just appreciate my outfit. Okay, that's the appreciation I need. Bridgerton is a show about high society England, and I love it. I love that time period, everything that happened. The Regency era is an era that I very much enjoy. I love watching period dramas, all of that. I'm a big fan, and I am very excited about the new season coming out next Thursday. So it comes out in 8 days. I will put a thing of how many days it comes out when I actually upload this. But I'm very excited about it. I'm very much looking forward to it. That I thought, hey, let's make a Regency dress. So that's the video that you clicked on. You couldn't tell that by the title, but you know, gotta do an intro, can't just dive straight in. Let's make a Regency dress, shall we? But before we get to that, you should like and subscribe, because I post lots of different variety of various nerdy things. Let's get to making, shall we? I got this material, £3 at a charity shop. That wasn't the bin. So I got the piece of material and I put it around myself to see where it would fall in the back, to see if it was big enough. However, I didn't do it where it would meet in the back. I did it where essentially the whole back piece was empty, to see where it would fall, because I then put it on my mannequin and I used that excess material to then make pleats that then made up the rest of my back. Because if you look on their dresses, they have like a whole bunch of like pleats that go around the back of the dress, which I tried to replicate. So I have this much fabric to make a bodice and 2 little sleeves. When I first bought this material, I was really worried that I wouldn't have enough to be able to do the skirt and the top. I don't think I needed to have worried about that. I need to make a top. I can do that. I got the piece of material and I folded it in half. I then got a vest top that I like the shape of, and I placed it down and I traced around it. I cut it out very wrong, and now I'm left with this. So we're gonna scrap that. Okay, and try again. So I did what I did before. I got the material, I laid it down, I then got a vest top that I liked the shape of, one that was actually low in the front and the back rather than the other one which was just low in the front. Laid it down, traced around it, and it turned out a lot better, although it was slightly smaller, but I ended up fixing that. I then got what would be the back piece and I cut it in half. I need to try this dress on. Nope, top bit on. And this is really bulky. And the top underneath isn't necessarily as bulky, but still quite bulky. So I'm going to change into this, which is just a strappy top that I traced around, because I think this will be the closest to my skin, so that it will be as if I'm wearing just the dress, but also decent enough for me to carry on filming. It's backwards so that I can see if it fit or not, and it's a little bit too small. They hit there, so what I'm going to do is just recut out the back pieces, because as you can see, the 2 back pieces are that, and the seam hits here, which it will do in the front, and rather than me cutting out 2 entirely new pieces, I will just cut out the back piece and then cut it in half, and I'll make it bigger. So I cut out a back piece, I then folded it in half and cut along the edge, and I then had 2 back pieces. I then pinned these 2 back pieces to the front piece, put it around myself to make sure that it would fit. I also pinned it at the top of like the sleevey bit, And obviously Azula helped me with all of these things. I highly recommend getting an Azula to help you. I edited it and it fits relatively perfectly, if I do say so myself. So now that I've done this, I'm now going to attach the skirt part to it. I got the top piece and I put it wrong side outward on my mannequin. I then got the skirt piece and I made sure that it was lying as flat in the front as I could, so it was against it, because I knew that I could runkle the back of it and it wouldn't matter, it would look like part of the dress. So I did that. I think I pleated it before and I undid the pleats that I'd previously done and then re-pleated it in the back of the new dress part, and it turned out all right. Because I have done all of the ness, so I'm now going to, also I've run out of pins so I can't do any more pinning. I'm now going to get my sewing machine out and sew it all in place of the bits that I've pinned, because from what I can tell it fits me. The only alterations I need to do are alterations that I can do when it's all sewn up, because I have room in the back to make it tighter. So I initially thought I knew what I was doing in this clip, but then I looked at the next couple of clips and realised I had no idea until I realised about 5 seconds into recording this audio that I was sewing the top piece and the bottom piece together. So there you go. I have got the basis for a dress. Ta-da! As you can see, there is this extra flibbly-doodah. That's the correct terminology. I'm going to do now is I'm going to, for starters, lay it out, cut off that excess fabric so that it's even on both sides, and then I'm going to sew it up in the back so that I can put it on and off and I don't have to hold it in place, and then from there I'll figure out what else to do. I laid it so that it was flat on the floor, the two raw edges side by side. I then trimmed the bottom so that it was even along the bottom, and also so that it was slightly shorter because it was really long at the moment. And I then sewed up the one side, and once I'd done that I then got a scrap piece of material and created 7 little loops on the back. Once I had added on the different loops for the closures in the back, I then got buttons that matched with the amount of loops that I had made, and where they were different colours I then got scrap pieces of material and put it over the buttons so that they all then looked like they matched because they're all the same size, before I then attached the buttons to the dress where they would fit when it was closed. I then did a rolled hem over the bodice piece, the bottom of the skirt piece, and everywhere basically, after making sure that it did fit me properly before doing the rolled hem. This is relatively done. All I need to do is darts here to make this a bit more fitted, sleeves, and trim and hem the bottom. I'm going to get dressed anyway into my pyjamas, so I'm going to do the dart thing, because I'll take clothes off, put it on, mark where the darts are, take it off, get dressed, sew it. So I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do most of that off screen because I'm going to be naked. So it's not looking too bad. That's the back. Yeah, it's looking too good. I'm going to do 2 little darts here. However, I realised I should have turned this inside out. I put the dress inside out on my mannequin, and I did where I thought that the darts would fit on my mannequin. I then turned it right side out to see how it looked, and it looked alright. Turned it back inside out, just did some alterations, try and made it more symmetrical before I sewed the darts in place. It's just day 2 of me making my dress, and I was going to do it this morning, but there is a jumble sale thing happening, so I'm going to go to that first. So I will carry on this when I get back, but I also need to get dressed because I am wearing my pyjamas. Due to me trying it on and off a couple of times throughout the past 24 hours, I had to redo some of the buttons and just make sure that they were still firmly in place, that some of them have come off. So you will notice that whilst I'm trying to fit the sleeve in, I end up measuring the sleeve armhole, and I then realised that measuring is for professionals, which I am not. So I just got a piece of fabric that I thought looked like it was sleeve length, a little bit longer in fact, because I knew that I'd wanted to add pleats to give it the like ruffled effect that they have in all their dresses, and it turned out pretty good. This looking good. Too short in the front. I'm going to start it at this seam rather than doing the middle at this seam and go round, because I think that will look better. That is all. You heard the lady. I got the piece of material and I moved it over so that it was actually covering the front more rather than starting from the top of the shoulder. I started from the front of the shoulder and did the pleats round, same pleats. I tried to make sure that the pleats were in the same direction as well, so you didn't have like an odd one that was going like left to right rather than right to left or whatever. But I did this, I then mirrored the same thing that I had done on one side on the other side before taking it off my mannequin and sewing it in place. I got the sleeves and I put it back on my mannequin, and I got the sleeves and then I cut it so it was more rounded, because at the moment it was quite square and rectangular, and theirs aren't like that. Theirs are very rounded, so I just rounded it off how I thought it would. I tried to make sure that it was even on both sides. I then took it off the mannequin and I trimmed the bottom because it was still too long. So I trimmed the bottom so that it was shorter in the front than it was in the back, and I then did a rolled hem on everything that I hadn't yet done a rolled hem on before putting that through my sewing machine, and I believe that is everything I did to finish this dress. This dress is done. I think we can cut to a montage.